Oh, it's nice and sunny where you are.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
too bad.
yeah, I can't really say the same for London, unfortunately.
Oh my gosh, it's only September. What's going on in London? Why
It
isn't
just it just rains a lot here. I wish
it?
it's always the way.
Uh,
I watched Tin Soldier today. I literally watched it this morning, so it's very fresh in my mind, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really like I love this. Well, we'll get onto it obviously, but the scenes with you and De Niro were fantastic. But I wanted to begin by asking. I mean, of course, this is a kind of there's a lot of action and kind of violence, this kind of thriller, but the character's got so much kind of going on internally. Is it it felt like there's a lot for you to get your teeth stuck into for this role. Was that a part of the appeal when you first kind of signed up to the project?
yeah, well, I think the biggest appeal for me was Jamie Foxx, Robert De Niro, John Leguizamo, all really three actors I have high regard for. And yeah, getting to work with those guys. Also, I thought the story was pretty compelling, something that, you know, could like imagine could happen. You could have a cult that's sort of a runaway train with this sort of bigger than life character and ex-military, and they get a little too big at the government because they got to come and shut him down. I thought that was interesting. I also thought the North Star of the trying to find his wife through this whole thing was quite interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Would you say kind of at its core that Tin Soldier's a love story, really?
Yeah, it's definitely trying to get back to her, and that's I think the core and the heart of it.
Yeah. And I mean, you sort of mentioned some of the cast. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, Jamie Foxx is so enigmatic, which is so essential for this character. It requires him to be that way for it to work. I wanted to know
Yep.
when you kind of how was it kind of working alongside him? Did you ever feel kind of cast under his spell? Because obviously the character has to be. So did you ever feel like when you're on set, did you ever kind of get lost in the scene? Because as an audience member, when
Definitely
he's
lost in his performance. He is so magnetic and such a bigger than life character on and off set. Like he's really truly one of the greatest to ever do it. Um, and one of the nicest guys on the planet, which it just that's what I care about most and first and foremost. So it was so great to work with him.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done quite a lot of kind of BTS and sort of EPK stuff. It makes such a difference when people are nice, doesn't it? I think we put, yeah,
No, it's like that's the only thing that matters. You can be the greatest in the world, but you're an asshole. Beat
yeah,
it.
yeah,
That's life's too short for that shit.
yeah. And as I mentioned about the very start, I love the scenes of you and De Niro. I just wonder if you could talk us through a kind of day on set like that, just sitting down, doing a real kind of two-hander with well, one of the very best to ever do it.
Yeah. Well, first off, it starts with an incredible amount of prep, right? So that those scenes, knowing where those scenes are, knowing that you have a month to 2 months lead time to prep for it. Um, just rehearsing and rehearsing and rehearsing 10,000 times, doing the emotional work, doing all of the character work, doing, you know, just rehearsing it to death. So by the time you even get to that scene and it's like that's, one of the sort of magnetic pivotal scenes in this movie, it's a big load for both characters to carry their big reveal going on in that scene, a lot of stuff going on, right? By the time you get to that, you're you're so have done all the hard work. You've already done the performance 10,000 times that now you can just live in the moment and do your thing. And if you hadn't done all that work prep, then you're screwed. You have to do all that leading up to it. So that stuff you see on the day is then it's just us being in the moment and trying to have fun doing it and give that performance.
Yeah, yeah, because you think that you can almost over prepare it. Because I guess as an actor, so much must actually come down to instinct, I suppose, on the day.
Yeah, I mean, can you over prepare it? I don't know. I don't know if you can. I don't know. I mean, look, you still have to, on the day, it has to be instincts. You have to be able to roll with what happens and adapt. But if you haven't done the groundwork and you haven't laid the foundation, you're never going to really be able to get as deep or as far as the scene can take you. Um, all the other stuff's like gravy, if something instinctually happens or you can then adapt and take that ride.
Yeah. And because you're a renowned performer with some real great credits to your name, and of course you come from kind of cinematic royalty as well. But even with all of that in mind, do you still get really excited when you know you're going to be performing alongside a great? Do you still get that feeling of like, oh shit, this is
Oh
pretty
yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, and that's why the prep is so pivotal. If you do the prep, then when you show up, those nerves have like washed away, you know. But if you haven't done enough prep, that would be really nerve-wracking, you know? Yeah.
It sounds like you've got a very kind of like, yeah, looking at the whole thing, very look at the meticulousness of the kind of the nuances of kind of acting. Do you think a lot of it, having grown up with kind of film being such a big part of your life, do you think it's kind of set you in good stead of understanding the kind of the right attitude, I suppose, to have about how to be an actor?
I think so. I mean, I that's a good question, actually. That's an insightful question. Yeah, I think, look, I know a lot because I probably had another 20 plus years of growing up with it and understanding how a film set works. Understanding not only how a film set works, but how a film set that's run impeccably well works, and seeing the people doing it at the highest level and also doing it in a way that's everyone's respected, everyone's, you know, has a everyone has a good attitude, everyone knows what they're doing, and they're total professionals, and they create some of the best art. So knowing that you can do it in a way that doesn't have to be chaotic, that doesn't have to be all these things, I think that information and that experience that I had growing up, it taught me a lot about how I want to be, how I want to treat others, how it works like from the top down, right? Any organization, it leads from the top down. Any CEO, you know, they create a positive work environment, they create a, you know, an efficient positive work environment. That's how it will be through the organization. And you have somebody who creates chaos and um, you know, gets high off that sort of stuff or whatever, then it's gonna percolate down to the whole thing. And so, and I like to think that that has given me, you know, a good North Star to how to be as a professional, as a coworker, all the things.
Yeah. Yeah, do you think that it felt like you were always destined to get into acting? When it's so kind of ingrained into your life from a young age, did that passion for you begin really early on for this craft?
Yeah, I think making movies is the passion that I have. Just seeing just seeing the creative process and how it affects people, how you can come up with ideas and you can implement those ideas into film. Uh, that whole process is really interesting and something that like I gravitate to. I don't know, you know, if it's in the DNA, if it was just by product of environment, maybe a little bit of both. Um, but yeah, I think it's been an incredible ride, and I'm grateful that I get to do it, tell stories that affect people, good, bad, or the ugly. um you know, not all of them are great, but some of them do, you know, pop through.
Yeah. And I thought in Tin Soldier, there was some real kind of creative flourishes to this. I just wondered, were you kind of aware of those from the very start in the kind of script stage, or has it been a nice surprise seeing what Brad has kind of added to the material kind of in the edit? And is that just an exciting part for you as an actor anyway, doing your bit and then seeing the kind of all those finishing touches put in post?
Yeah, I think it's always interesting what directors do at the end of the day, because really it's a director's medium in some ways, film in general. So getting to see what choices they've made, music, editing, stylized, all the things, right? That's like a different part of the art form. So I always find it good. I don't tend to watch myself during the process too much because you just try to do the work and then leave it be. Um, so yeah, getting to see it at the end is always an interesting ride.
Yeah, just to follow on from that quickly, can you, in terms of watching yourself in a film, are you ever able to get lost in a movie like an audience member would when you're starring in it, or is that almost just impossible?
It's almost impossible unless the film is, I mean, really A plus. When the film is, you know, and the director really does a killer job, that's when it can start to happen. That's when you can just forget you're watching the movie that you shot and that you know everything that comes next, right? But they've done such a way of crafting that narrative that it does suspend disbelief.
Yeah. And just on that note, quickly, when you watch your dad's films, do you see your dad, or can you see or him as a character as well? Is it even that quite similar thing to you, or do you still see? Is there still that sort of disconnect?
I think I notice pieces, but also, he's done such mastery work that I have been lost many a times in his films. Those some of those great films, The Unforgivens, Million Dollar Baby, The Mystic Rivers, these movies that are just mastery works. They really kind of they take you on a journey.
Yeah. I know, back into to Tin Soldier, I wondered if you have to do, because obviously there's a few kind of actiony kind of pieces, but do you have to do much training for a role like this? And if you're an actor who does get roles in kind of genre films and kind of action orientated movies, do you always just have to stay in shape just in case you get that call? And can that be quite exhausting to kind of feel like you're kind of constantly having to keep yourself ready for a role of that nature?
Yeah, I mean, well, yes, the answer is yes. You do. And I think part of being, at the center of a movie is you need to be in shape and you need to have like body movement. Your body movement needs to be good. So I do a lot of things to do that, right? I mean, I do a lot of Muay Thai, jiu-jitsu, yoga. Um, I try to keep my body really like as part of the instrument, and I think that's part of the craft. It's exhausting, but shit, I mean, that's like hard work. It just is what it is. It's part of the deal. And it also is like, it's part of just my ethos of being healthy and trying to, just live a balanced lifestyle.
I wish someone would give me a role in an action movie. It might tempt me to finally get into shape. But you do. I was looking at your kind of your credits and stuff. I mean, you seem to have quite a few bits kind of coming up, and you've always struck me as a really kind of busy person. Do you have? I mean, in terms of your kind of that work ethic, what do you think kind of drives you? And are you able to relax much in between projects, or is it a bit of a case of kind of moving on from one to the next?
I think there's been a time where I definitely didn't like to sit still. But I think, trying to like reevaluate in the last few years of sitting still and being a little more methodical about what I say yes to and what I jump into has been more of like more of my mandate in the last couple years. So I think it especially this year I'm like, well, I've been doing this for 20 plus years now. Let's let's take a backseat approach a little bit and say, no, let's only do the stuff you really are excited about and really want to do and think you can, do something with.
Yeah. That must be quite a nice place to get to for an actor, because I always imagine that those early years, it's just kind of just saying yes to everything. And I guess there's that moment, almost a like luxurious position where you just go, actually, I'm going to be a bit more picky. It must be
Yeah.
quite nice when you reach that stage.
Yeah. I mean, 23 years of running around the globe and, living out of a suitcase and, living out of hotel rooms in Cape Town or Iceland or Australia or wherever else. Pick a country. Um, yeah, well, I guess at some point you say, okay, well, I've done that. Now I'm gonna do it a little differently.
Yeah. I'm just sort of my final question really is interested to know because I was sort of seeing you such a sort of myriad of such huge productions before. Is there one in particular that you'd say you get recognized for the most, or one that you think you connect that you get the most kind of fan interactions for, or from across your career?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I think there's been a few flicks that, you know, I see different audiences respond differently, right? I mean, you do movies like The Longest Ride, and that movie is, based on a best-selling book. It's got a predominantly female-driven audience. You do movies, with Jason Statham and Guy Ritchie, and that's got a more of a masculine audience. I was able to play the villain in that movie, which was, incredible opposite Jason. So you get sort of people that respond to that type of movie. You get go do movies like Pacific Rim. You get a bunch of 12-year-old boys that are, that love the comic or love the Guillermo del Toro thing. And so, you just different stuff from all over. Fast and Furious, just the audience changes.
And just very finally, actually, before I go, you sort of mentioned before about taking a bit of time, sort of time to yourself. Do you think about kind of what else you'd like to do and sort of, but do you have a kind of internal kind of checklist of I'd like to try this type of film or this type of character, or is that do you just kind of take it role by role, or do you like to have kind of personal milestones in that regard?
I do. I do. Yeah, like I'd like to play a wild character, a really wild, like offbeat, you know, thing. And so I am looking for roles that are just a little more challenging and or a little more creative to do something off the page a little bit more. Um, Fun though, definitely all fun characters. I don't want to do too many dark characters. There's just a dark energy that surrounds that. I tend to find.
Mm. Yeah, I could see you doing something quite crazy,
Yeah.
just losing it.
Yeah.
Be good. Cool. Well, that's all I've got time for, I'm afraid, Scott. But it was so nice to speak to you today, and yeah, best of luck with
Same.
the movie.
Same, man. Stay dry out there in
Cheers,
London.
Cheers, man. Take care. Bye bye. Cheers.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, you guys.
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey, you guys.
Hey, you guys!